Okay, let's get started. I think this is right. Okay. A really good idea for something at 2 a.m., but resisted every urge to get up and try it out. And now I don't remember what it was. There's a lesson. Morning mojo. Yeah, there's a lesson. Get up. Sleep is overrated. Okay. So we have app comments. But that's not the signal, so that's going to be that. That should apply. Okay. Oh, okay then. Yeah, go back to sleep, madman. So, oh yeah, that's fine. So comments aren't loaded. We're gonna try and get this comments thing finished first, right? So comments aren't loading. So when you load into here, right, we show the numbers, requirements, attachments, etc. I don't actually include comments in that initial load because it's obviously potentially a lot of data, right? So what I'm thinking is, I will when you click on comments, expand comments, and potentially in the initial object indicate that there are comments. So just put a dot or something to indicate there are comments, or a full, the filled icon for the comment thing. That's a UI hint we can worry about later. But there's no point in showing loading all the comments, because if you have a bunch of them, it's going to take a lot of data, and that's a lot to transfer. Requirements, even requirements to some extent, probably don't benefit from loading all on entry, because these could be quite large, and these are actually more likely to be larger than the comments, if I'm being honest. So, but again, strategies we can talk about and learn about later. So, comments. So I have this concept, right? So I have the load by identifier, and load by identifier fetches one and patches the state in, right? It sets the entity on the result. And what that does is it pulls the planning item again, but it pulls it with more information, right? So projects and attachments, whereas the original one just fetches all the default fields, right? Assigned user, created by, etc. It doesn't, and projects, right? Just the information you need in general. This enriches that data. And what my thought is that fetch comments will pull the extra data, and the idea would be to patch that in, right? So that sets the comments on the item. So what you do is did I just have that? Planning item comment feature. I have fetch comments, which patches the comments in there. So what we do is, in this comments component, we do constructor, and yeah, that was right. But we want to do the delayed one. ASAP scheduler dot schedule dot now schedule is it comma 0? Yeah, delay. Right. So that will load it for the comments. So we should. Oh, that's not good. Input is required, but no value is found. Planning expansion panel. Comments. Input. Comments TS line 39. If this item. Oh, that's right. It's an import. Input is required, but no value is available yet. Can you test that? Hey, important guy. How you doing? Input is required, but not available yet. But has no value yet. Nice. I was looking in your stream yesterday. How did it go? Trick is to move the client's property initializers inside. Gotcha. Okay. I'm doing good. I'm feeling positive about progress on this piece. I want to get back to some of the server pieces, or rather, tightening up some of the features. This dot item. But I don't get the item in here. This is great, but oh, I can't do that. That's a great idea, but I can't do that there. I need to. I don't think that's gonna do what I want. Able to put all zero on the server. Now trying to get it to work on the client. Nice. That's not too difficult. Oh, fail. Input is required, but no value is available yet. So I can't subscribe to this because I haven't set it yet. So this is being the comments component is being constructed when I open this, but the item hasn't been set at that point. So I suppose I could subscribe to when it is available. I suppose that's the answer, right? So we do this dot item dot I subscribe to when a signal has a value set. That's cool. Implementing Auth0. So yeah. That's an input signal. Hold on. Can I do this? Public comments equals computed this dot. Can I do that? Can I just comment out the comments, please? Yes, I'm making this up as I go along. I'm trying to just learn through failure, right? Basically what I'm trying to do is watch this item changing, and when it changes, fetch the comments. That's the thought right second. Oh, but I'm not using them. So I've learned that if comments, I have learned that if you don't use things, it does optimize them out pretty quickly. This condition will always return true. This promise value is always defined. Component line 1. Must have an iterator method. Oh, because I'm not returning. So that's a computed method that will return. So return new promise. Comment. I want to do that. I mean, essentially, I return. Async. Await. So fetch comments is the weird thing with that name there is fetch comments is not doing what it's not doing what it's promising. Write code that tells a story. So fetch comments actually returns a planning item, which is not what I want, right? So the idea was that it would attach the comments, right? Not fetch the actual comments. But I probably could make it return new promise resolver again, I'm trying to learn my way around idiomatic Angular, right? I'm trying to figure out what is the right way of structuring, what is the right way of, building these stores and storing the data. Is there a technique that I should be using? Is there, as I grow, as I use things, my understanding will increase, and I'll understand. Oh no, I'm leaking things. I'm storing too much information. These things will come. It's just frustrating when you promise of comment array. Comments is applying item comment. There we go. So that will now return comments. Right, there we go. So that's now set to do that. You should have. That should have an iterator. Type promise. Oh. Shh. You're good. You're good. You're good. Relax. Relax. There's a bird or something outside screaming. So it's a return of a signal of a promise. That's not why. Let results equals return results. Why are you still returning a promise though? Change that behavior. That's still left in constant. Just I don't know why I did that then. Computed signal promise planning item comment. Then results. That's a signal void because it's not doing anything. But everything I can think of here is going to be how do I force it out of the promise? Because that's a promise. That returns a promise. Of that. How do I resolve a promise? Hey, Redrum. How you doing? Guess you're the ideal person to. I don't know about the ideal person, but I'm using GraphQL in this API in a different way. You give me a minute. Just let me resolve promise. But it's still returning a promise. That's the problem. That's actually not what I want to do. So I do let result equals await, right? And then do return results. I get a promise of playing out in comment. I don't know why I get a promise of playing out in comment. Is it just a different type of calling some GraphQL specific API? Assume it still uses HTTP to communicate between UI and backend. Okay, so I've used GraphQL in this project to try and understand a little bit more about GraphQL myself. I'm in the same boat as like, it's just an API. It helps to show how I'm using GraphQL. So I am building an application. Let me show you the current version. I'm building an application to do project management and planning, right? So the idea being that you have planning items. Planning items have some details attached to them. You can add the requirements, attachments, changes, comments, etc. You can attach tasks to those things, and you can go into sprints and enable. You can move stories and tasks around rather, not stories, not the right word. So far, yeah, TinyJira. Right now, TinyJira. Deliberately built because I don't like certain things about Jira. But anyway, the way this is being built is I have the client, I have APIs in the backend. I use these to write to. I publish the information into Kafka, and I consume that into a view database, which consolidates all this information and presents me with the ability to have a readable database. It's not the data I'm storing. It's not in that form. These don't require any extra information than what they care about. They own their data. So a planning item is stored in planning. A task is stored in tasks. They do not have knowledge of each other other than an identifier that is shared, potentially. Like if I have a planning item referencing a task or a task referencing a planning item, the task will have a planning item identifier. But obviously these are not made for query. These are made for pure write. I then export the data through Kafka, and I'm importing it and storing it in this view database. My personal approach here, and I don't know whether this is a good one, but it is working effectively for me right this second, is I have created views for the data. So I don't like the idea of mutations in GraphQL. You can use GraphQL as both. You can say, okay, I want to change this data. I want to mutate the data. It's possible. So I've basically created a bunch of views that consolidate the information for me. At the GraphQL layer, I'm using a DB context in Entity Framework against that view, and I'm basically directly exposing the DB context into my GraphQL endpoints. So that gives me the ability to just say, query this object, essentially. Using projection allows me to manipulate the query. So if I ask for a field that's in a joined table, it will join that table. But if I don't ask for that field, it won't join that table. So I'm able to customize the data that I'm asking for very quickly. I don't have to create different API endpoints. So if I want an API endpoint for getting planning items, and that's planning items summary, right? I don't have to create an API endpoint for planning items summary. And then when I want the details, oh, go and get me planning item details. I don't have to make two different endpoints. And if the details change, they change globally, and I can ask for more. I can have stuff removed. I can put permissions around these things. So I can actually use this to attach permissions to individual properties in this object. So based on requests from UI, the query is formed without having defined API. Like yes. So on the client side, what I do is if I go to the store, planning items query. I'm using signal stores in GRX. So this is the query. So if I want to, here, when I'm getting planning items, when I get all of them, I ask for planning items and I get a set of fields that are defaults. This is just like a templated list, right? So here's the fields I asked for by default. I asked for the ID, the identifier, and I alias it as ID. So I have identifiers that are shared between the systems. But on the client, I want to refer to that as ID. So all my common fields on my planning item, right? Now, when I want to fetch In this case, I actually do have planning item by ID, but you can actually open up the filter here. I'm still learning a bit more about this, but essentially I'm making the same query again, but asking for a different set of fields. So it's the same table. I'm just providing a function version for myself to pass a parameter in. You can do it with filtering and sorting and stuff anyway. So I could achieve this without having two different endpoints. So basically, it is a UI-based Hibernate in a way. Not sure I'd say that, but okay. I'm thinking of ORM Hibernate. Um, Hibernate. Oh, Hibernate is an ORM. No, Hibernate is an ORM. That's more Entity Framework's world, right? Entity Framework is doing that. What this is allowing me to do is customize the fields I'm asking for. So from the same endpoint, here again, I call the I do have specific IDs in there, but I could actually make the call here to this same one and just ask for comments, right? So I can flex the queries a little bit. I'm still growing into using this. I do like the flexibility. In this instance, if I want to fetch less information about planning items, if I just want to fetch a summary, I can just fetch a summary and it will give me that. The benefit is that, and the reason I'm doing it the way I am is so that the schema I offer is only the data I'm willing to share. It is not the data of the full database, right? I'm doing it deliberately this way because I've always felt that when we try and stick GraphQL against, if we have an API that sits against an existing data schema, like we don't have the multiple databases like I have. Let's say you have a monolith and you have one application database. Sticking a GraphQL API against that is limiting because it's the same schema you use, so the joins and stuff may be different. The cost of those queries is something you have to consider. Here, I can optimize my schema for that view case. So basically, RDBS versus NoSQL will be the same as REST versus GraphQL. Yeah, I suppose. I think an API gives you some intent, whereas GraphQL is more, freeing. It also allows me to, if someone knows the schema, like if we publish the schema, and there is nitro, banana cake pop. I think it's already updated to nitro internally, but yeah. So if we go to banana cake pop, which is now renamed nitro, right? I can provide a schema reference, right? So if I can provide a schema reference, PMs know what data is available, and they can also say, well, I want that field on that screen, right? Can I have this information? And the UI person doesn't have to actually go to the developer and say, oh, can we add another field, right? Those fields are available to us all the time. You can add permissions per field. You can actually limit who can access the fields. So there's all sorts of options there. Like I can put actual permissions around individual properties of this. Yeah, right. But again, freeing in so much as I can provide, okay, where is it? Planning item, right? I could provide this to the PM, right? And say, here's the fields that are available to you. And I can document them as well. And that allows them to know what's available. So if they want to see a value on a screen, like let me just get this ridiculousness out so I can get the screen loading again. This is the latest version of the software. And then let's comment that part out. That should allow me to load it. Come on. Building client is missing the following properties. Comments component TS. Line 50. No, it was broken anyway. I'm trying to fix pieces of it. Just trying to figure out what the heck I'm broken. I was missing the following properties from the planet. Source app planning components come. Oh, did I change the wrong? Oh yeah. Thanks for the follow, Redrum. I got a basic understanding between two. Thank you. Yeah. But yeah, the thing I was going to say then is basically if the PM wants to say, oh, I want this extra field, this column displaying, the developers don't have to go, oh, we need to go change the data layer, we need to pull the field, we need to do this, we need to update the API, and then we can get it there. So then the UI developer can go off and do the change on the query, the client. You can put a client story in if you know the field's there, change the client to include the field in the query, and you've got it, right? So there's a lot of flexibility there. So yes, you expose a big chunk of schema, but like I'm doing, and this made it feel right for me, is I'm creating a schema specifically for GraphQL to work with. Now, if I wanted to do mutations, maybe that changes the way I do it because you can use mutations to change the data, but I like GraphQL as a query perspective, and I'm finding this quite helpful. So these are all regular APIs, right? These are regular API endpoints for saving. So these have invariably no query. There is a few where there is a necessity to query something, but overall these are all. In enterprise solutions, it is still more complicated. Everything needs to be versioned and documented. You can also. I'm using an API gateway here, so I could actually create a version 2 version of the API separately. Yeah. Kafka I'm using for event state transfer. I'm not using it for publishing like a service bus. So basically when something changes in here, I publish a integration event for that thing. So I publish planning item, I publish task, and these go into Kafka and these other systems pick them up and deal with them. So if I'm notifications, if I'm subscribed to changes against the planning item, the notifications will pick it up and go, oh, do you care about this thing? Yeah, you do. Okay. Publish communication inbox message for the user to tell them this changed. Um, yeah. So yeah, and I use RabbitMQ. I do use RabbitMQ with mass transit. Um, for message bus. So if I want to send an email, I send the email to communications via a message bus, not via Rabbit or not via Kafka. Is this everything running for you locally? Asking because for me, so many Spring Boot instances was a pain. Yes. This is 15 .NET projects running. This is Kafka, SQL Server, Redis, RabbitMQ, Papercut, Mongo, telemetry, and console running. Yeah, all running locally. $62 meg. 62 gig meg. Hey, the tax evasion. How you doing? So, yeah, 62 meg, yeah. I'm efficient modding Apex. But yeah, this is all running locally. This version is running on a little AMD mini PC um, with 32 gig, and that's running everything in Kubernetes. Yeah. Oh, well, my app's so efficient, it all fits on a floppy disk. Yeah. Optimization pass aside, like there's time to do that sort of stuff later. Okay, so I completely broke this because yeah, Seymour is not using the template of components. Oh yeah, that's because that. Um, yeah, so this application is not open source. This is something I would like to turn into a product. Um, I do open source some pieces. I open source the Kafka components for the wrapping the Kafka behavior. But yeah, if anyone's ever interested, if you're new to the stream, if you're interested in talking about this, asking more questions, or just providing any feedback on how you would approach things differently, there is a Discord. Um, yeah. Hey, Dragonoff. Welcome in. Absolutely no clue. Um, especially in Angular. What I'm trying to learn here is a way of getting the comments. Let's see if it actually runs right. I think nope. Comments does not exist in comments component. Rework. Uh, equal capable just looking at this. So this is, for reference, this is 14 months worth of work. Admittedly not full-time work, only a couple of hours a day here and there, and then a few weekends here and there. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot of pieces you won't see, but the intent is to build a real application. So there is 92 .NET projects in here. We have, from a technology perspective, we have Kafka, SQL Server, MongoDB, RabbitMQ with Mass Transit. Akka.NET is in here. What else? Obviously, Angular with GraphQL. Yeah. It's a technology playground first, but the intent of building it into something that's real. I apologize if ads just popped up. I haven't used NGRX stores in Angular because I always work with stateless applications. I need to keep track on UI side. I haven't tried signals either just because I switched to backend before signals were introduced. Yeah. Not sure I'm loving. I'm not sure I'm getting my brain around signals yet. I suppose I've got no choice but to try and make this work. So what I was changing there was the fetch comments should fetch the comments. However, I need to respond to item. Now, if I use a computed property, the thought there was if I can do comments equals computed, the way computed works is it subscribes to changes on that thing, right? But right now I have no need to. I've got a chicken and egg going on, really. Um, because that might build. But that's never going to load because so yeah, I have a chicken and egg because I load the item, but by loading the item, I don't load the comments automatically. I myself started prepping for AWS certification. Seems like a hot topic lately. Yeah, cloud stuff is a gap in my knowledge for certain. From an experience perspective, I've focused most of my application dev on, well, most of my career so far has been on-prem stuff or cloud, but infrastructure rather than platform or software. So I haven't had a lot of exposure. I do want to start considering more options there, but it's difficult, and it's understanding the cost, understanding the risk of tinkering with stuff, and then finding out there's a couple $100 in bills waiting for me at the end of the month is terrifying. I have been hit by that before. But a past interactive quest from Amazon's quite interesting, but yeah, fairly new for me as well. Yeah. But yeah, moving more towards that. So here I'm saying computed is the comments is going to be the item comments, but the problem is I'm never actually asking for the comments, right? So my hope was there that I could subscribe to the item change or get told about the item change and then be able to say, well, actually, the item's been set now. Go fetch the comments and load them in. My initial version of the comments was it sets the comments on the planning item, right? And then returns the array. So I could potentially, if I could figure out how to listen to a signal changing, if there's a value, actually, hold on. Can I do if not this dot item dot comments this dot store dot fetch comments this dot im dot id. Interesting that I see you working with promises instead of RxJS rules. I'm I'm still looking to learn more about getting. Okay, honest take. I am muddling my way through a lot of the Angular stuff. I don't enjoy it in here, right? I don't enjoy this world. I prefer to be the back end. I have no choice. So I'm going to stumble and fall and learn as I go and find if you want to give me some advice, if you say, hey, you could use this here, feel free. This stream is not about me being right about everything. This stream is about me sharing what I'm doing, sharing the successes and the failures, maybe giving you some ideas as to what you can do, and also being willing to accept I might be wrong, happily wrong on the client. It's not a comfortable world for me. So if you see me doing something that you wouldn't do and you want to call it out, as long as you can provide me good advice and be clear about whether it's an opinion versus an actual way to do it, I'm happy to converse. And the stream isn't about me being productive with the code. The stream is about me sharing the journey, and I'm happy to talk. So yeah, join in if you want to. So what I'm thinking about here is I want to get the comments. So if I do async there, I await that, and then I do that. Will that give me anything? Must have a symbol iterator. Why does it return a promise though? I don't understand that. Does that not resolve the promise? Like, let results equals, like, return results. Why does that not return? Why does that still return a promise? If it's resolved the promise, what am I missing? Because it's still, the signature still says it's a promise of planning item. Now that one I can see, right? Well, actually, no, I can't see because that's actually not a promise either. That's a planning. That's an array. So how is that returning a promise? It's this piece that does it. Okay, but then I can't return. I got into the promise pattern, by the way, because the promise pattern, doing the promises as a way of dealing with the state. So these are observables, right? But if I return an observable, it doesn't function, or it hasn't been functioning the way I expect. So if I do return, why did I do this? I did this a certain way for a reason. Yeah, I wrap an observable with a promise. Originally, I wanted to use just this. I can't remember why I did it this way. I had some issues early on with reacting to the observables, I think. I don't want to return another promise. Yeah. So yeah. So fetch comments is a promise of planning item comment. Right. So in here, if I do that, right, I have to make that as async, right? That says that's a planning item comment, but this still says it's going to return a promise of planning item comment or undefined. Computed is a signal thing. So as far as I understand it, so basically what I'm saying is, oh, by the way, watch for this changing. You're going to use this, um, and it'll react to it. So if I change the item, the comments will trigger. This query will trigger as well, and get me the comments. So what I'm trying to do is say, because okay, what I'm trying to do is I want to use this to get the comments, but I don't want to load the comments every time I load the task, every time I load the panel, right? So I expand the drop down, I expand the panel, I have attachments and requirements, and then I have comments. When I click on comments, I want to load. Um, I want to basically load them for that planning item. So attaching that data to the actual store. So I'm just trying to trigger that event. You can't do that in the constructor. You can't subscribe because this item might not be set yet by the time this is constructed. So I've got a chicken and egg problem, right? I can't load it because I don't have it, but when I do have it, I can't load it. So yeah, signals, RxJS, uh, all this stuff is stuff I'm still trying to get my head around at the same time as trying to build an app. Um, because essentially what I want to do is I want to do this dot item dot subscribe, and then like listen to that changing. Um, there is no subscribe to a signal though, like that. Signals are um, does it need to be async? Well, I need to set the comments. So no, but how would I do it? Still baffling me why it's actually I'm returning something. I don't get why. I did learn some valuable lessons in how signals trigger and stuff yesterday, but yeah, I know async needs an await. That's why the promise I was waiting the promise. So I don't have to do then, because then I still then don't have a return. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Um Let me have a look. Chat. Claude does have more updated signal stuff from what I can tell. I thought it was to return the observable instead of promise and then subscribe. Why are you doing computer call? You need to await computing inside of the computer. But I mean, so I get what you're saying there. So that becomes return, and then we go here and do await there. It doesn't know that. Oh, you have to do the as async, right? Don't you on that one? Um, for Angular async, there's a pipe or something. Yeah. Writing to signals is not allowed on a computed. Ah, what do you mean writing to signals? I don't. Where am I writing to a signal in that computed? Line 51. What? Line 51. Planning item comments feature. Line 51. Covert gravy. Hello. Yeah. Hey, sorry, I was tired this morning. We'll give you a letter. No worries, Delta. I would do fetch comments to subscribe. Well, let's try. The most important thing is that I'm trying. The problem is I'm trying to patch the state, so I can't do it in that observable, right? And again, from here, I need this item to be set because I'm trying to, regardless of where I do it, I'm getting the ID of the thing I'm loading. So I need this to be set to get in here. The reason I'm using computed is because computed seems to signal or to trigger when the other signal happens. So as long as I join them, which means that this is reacting to this. Right? If I move this, if I move that to be subscribe, it doesn't solve that problem. I get that now it's saying computed, so I can't use it in computed. I can't use this method in a computed thing, but I can't. The normal way I've been doing this is you go in. Oh, so much stuff. I got to come up with some sort of plan here. Technically, that's all that. Right. Typically, what I've done is this, where I've said, okay, well, this I add the effect and have item, and then use the ASAP schedule. This is a common thing I've seen, but this won't work because this item isn't set when the constructor happens. So it goes, nope. Inside constructor, fetch comments, but I don't have item ID. So I can't do that, right? Much. So if I do this.store.fetch comments, right, this.item.id, right, if I just do that for right a second, let's remove that. I can write that a million times over. Even if let's just do then for now for the promise. And we make public comments, planning item comment array. This dot comments equals right. Refactor this asynchronous operation outside the constructor. Maybe I can do it that way. On init will have it. Maybe that will work. Oh, we don't need the async. We don't need that. I'm okay with removing the promise wrapper. Oh, there we go. Let's see how it popped in. What is that doing? I've got a problem. I've got an infinite memory. I've got an infinite loop. It's reacting to the signal. It's just infinitely querying the comments. Let's see. Let's just remove that. Let's make sure that wasn't the problem. So this is the problem with not understanding fundamental components, right? How to use them effectively, and there's that many different. I could spend all day trying to find out what is the right way of doing this because I'm going to find a bunch of opinions, a bunch of different designs. That's fine. Redrum, I really do appreciate the input. It is not. It's fine. So watch. See how that's now just infinitely requesting? It's because it's changing the signal, which is triggering the change, which is changing the signal, which is triggering the change. It's now in an infinite loop of signals. Right. So we can certainly change that to be a subscription. I think the computed I'll happily change it. Watch. So we can't patch the state, which means we can't change. So yeah, in the computed, I can't do this. So the intent is, oh, by the way, go fetch the comments and apply it to the planning item that you're actually changing. So now we've got a copy of it, so we don't have to keep asking for it, right? That's the entire intent there. So we've got a local store of it. So even if I return, and we do that, helps if we spell return correctly. Planning item service. So even if we make that an observable, no, I appreciate the input. I appreciate the help. Again, I'd rather learn from people and share the struggles than I would. Yeah. So what we've just changed that to is a subscription against planning items. So now we get a planning item. Actually, we get the comments. And hopefully on the way through. Do I want to subscribe to that or do I want to pipe that? You react, I didn't run into that. Yeah, it's fun, isn't it? When you're reacting to changes. Still fun to understand how it works in case if someone other had comment, how does NGRX know how to request new comment and that there is new comment? Like that makes sense. Pipe. What would that be though? That would I want to patch the on the way through. Is it not apply? Is it apply? No, not on that one. The internet should stay. Avoid TypeScript and JavaScript. So in concept, when I add a comment, I don't add it. I add it to my store. Well, I actually send it up to the server, and I add it to my store and I capture the ID that I've so that I've got a local version of it. And um, yeah, right. And my nose gets very dry. That's why I keep picking at my nose. Um, no need to use both. But this is purely low level optimization. Both work. Yeah, and that's the problem. Like you find a million and one different ways to achieve things. Like, oh yeah, just use this, and everyone's got different advice. Um, my nose is very dry. Um, uh, uh, so the one problem there is in this instance I only have one set of these controls. In the new style, I have the controls per panel. So that's giving me some interesting side effects as well because the code that I previously wrote is now being done differently. Pipe apply function underlay through pipe. Pipe method is for chaining observable operators and the subscriber is for activating observable and listening for emitted values. So if I do that, and then return comments, that's an observable of comments. However, where do I do this? Is the challenge. Um, because I still can't use computed because I want the store to change. That's the entire point of doing it in here is I want the store to change. This is why I always went the easy way, stateless. Yeah, but this is not going to work for this is too big to not do something like this. Fetching all this data all the time is not something I want to be doing. The ultimate intent, by the way, so one thing I have got working as well is GraphQL subscriptions. So I actually can push to the client through GraphQL as well, so I don't have to have a separate signaler piece. So I actually do have in this version, there's this subscribe concept. I don't think it's actually wired up. I don't think I got that part working. But in theory, you can click on this, subscribe to that item, and now when something changes on the item, it'll push down to the client and tell you, by the way, this changed. So yeah. Yeah, I am I'm using Redis as well, I suppose. There's that I missed that technology earlier on in the list. So how do I use this effectively now then? Because I want that side effect of patching the state, but I can't do that if I want to use it in computed. So initially I did have, I mean that you could benefit Redis and loose stores. Yeah. Yeah. So I had computed comments were selected. So this was working nicely when I've selected a single item, but now in this new style, I can't do this, right? Obviously, all these are pretty much redundant once I've got rid of the code for them, but lessening is a word. Can I have? Tell you what, let's do this. On init. I still want to do the same thing. Oh, come on. I wanted to get so much further today. I thought comments was like almost there and I'd have it done. It's all good. That's again, this is useful. Um, and if anyone sees me struggling with this, for reference, I have been a developer a long time. Um, Client side is not my favorite thing, but I have done a lot of development. Um, but this is the cost of having just. I'm not a full stack developer. I have my preference in the back end. Um, I suppose I'm a full stack through necessity rather than desire. Um, but this is still a struggle. This does not come natural to me. Um, Maybe if I found the right example or the right person to help guide through here's how to build. And again, one of the things I'm looking for as I build this application is how to write idiomatic Angular with idiomatic signal stores and use them effectively. The signal store documentation is not good for guidance. It does not tell you really how to use it effectively. Um, I would argue because I've seen like Socamil's signal store stuff, and it just blows my mind. Like I can't follow along. And I'm procrastinating now, so that's not good. So what I was thinking of was, oh, I can make this computed and get the item computed, but then I have to load it. Will that do? Hold on. Let's do that. Let's do computed this to item comments. Don't need that. Right. Let's do that. Now let's do constructor. Can't do that. Can't do that. I'm not afraid of AI. I can try Google Gemini Studio where you can literally speak to AI and share screen and discuss like it. Eh, nah, I'm not using AI for that. I don't mind using AI for some things, but I don't think I can. Can I do effecting on it? I didn't think I could. Is that legit? No, that's not legit because I'm not running it, am I? I'm okay with asking AI questions. I'm okay. So far, I'm finding Claude is actually better at this stuff. Um, like some of this stuff. Let's see. Error. Undefined must have a symbol iterator. Oh, that's that. When it handles that section, builder must provide initial full build before. Let's see. Cloud Sonic is really good. To help you work with Sinus, here's how to subscribe. So effect watches signal changes. Yeah, love to see it. Okay, let's see how we do now. Do we do infinite loop? Ready? Oh, but we don't get comments either. Effect can only be used with an injection context, such as a constructor, a factory. So that lets me put that there, but then, so you see, the problem is this isn't allowed. Const value equals this dot item. If value not equal to defined. I don't think this works because I think it'll tell me that it can't access that yet. Come on. Oh, infinite loop. Oh, I know why. I know why. So the effect will react whenever a signal changes that you're watching inside of here. So this is the weird thing. Using a signal inside of effect subscribes to that signal. So that effect now will be told of changes to that signal. This is what caught me in the computed properties. If you mention a property inside of a computed field, it will now monitor that field. As I'm understanding it so far, again, based upon some hard lessons learned the last couple of days. So by virtue of referencing this field, I will be told when this changes. So what I was hitting then was I was getting the item when it changed, going in here, fetching the comments. In that fetch comments, I change the store, I patch the state of the item with the comments, which then triggers the effect, which triggers the store, which triggers the effect, which triggers the store. So that's why my infinite loop. Well, again, I want to react when this changes. I can't do that other than this. So what I'm going to do is like, oh, I don't need to load it. So it's going to not ask for it again, right? But now if I change the item, it will trigger this and then comments will be refreshed as well. So if I add a comment, we should see it increase to 9 in theory. Because that computed property as well. So if we load that again, yeah, it's. I wish I could get a better handle on it, but I also have the problem of I'm also trying to build this, right? I want to build this piece, and this little piece over here is such a small part, but such a big sap of my time. You know, hey, folks, now how you doing? If you, I didn't see you in already, but hello. There you are. Again, if you are new to the stream, if you have questions, thoughts, opinions on what I'm doing, please feel free to share. As long as they're constructive, I don't mind. If you're going to criticize, if you think, oh, this guy has no clue what he's doing, fine, that's fine. There you go. There's my comments, and I don't have an infinite load. Okay, we have progress. We have a very slow UI. Why do I have a very slow UI? I've got a feeling I have too many subscriptions going on. That I'll worry about later. That snuck by. Yeah. Performance. I have no idea what we're talking about. Oof. Input delay. Presentation 1200. Processing delay 500. Yeah, something's going badly wrong. Is it just a caching thing? Adding a new comment. Will this bring the its knees? Why does that do that? Okay. AI solution is not linked to what energy is being provided unless it was sarcasm. I remember back in the Bitcoin mining days that one of those large mining places was using co-energy, and that's how it was affordable. No idea. Not my world. Um, okay, so why does that reload in any way, shape, or form? Save resets the form group. It adds a comment. The point of this was that I'd get told when comments change. Uh, add comment should do. Yeah, it updates the store. Yeah, it updates the item. Um, the idea there is that manipulates it updates the comments, adds a new comment into at the top of the existing comments, then patches the state of the store. And actually should set fulfilled as well. That's not going to go down well. Set fulfilled. So that's going to be 9 there. 9. Okay. It does seem like it's working a little better. This should appear at the top of the. I'm just not injecting into that conversation, so forgive me if I'm not reading it out. I don't realize what you're talking about, but it's a conversation back and forth, so totally fine. Should appear at the top of the list of comments. Doesn't do. If I reload. So the Kafka piece is working fast enough because it's getting all the way around. And yeah. Oh, so why are you not? The entire point of the signal should be that I'm changing the updated item. I don't think I can set. Oh, hold on. I think I know why. Set entity updated. I think that is going to change different thing. I might create a different signal. Adding another comment here. This should work. Yeah, there you go. But it seems to trigger a different signal. So if I'm changing a property and I'm patching the state, it will update, but it won't signal that the thing's done. If I set the entity, it knows it knows its ID, so that I don't think that'll create a duplicate. Looks like the application is performing okay now. I think I was just having some caching issues earlier on. So if we go here, adding a comment to this thing should work, but it shouldn't reset my current tab. That's annoying. Yeah, there you go. Planning expansion panel. So this is the tabs. I was genuinely hoping to get to user profile today. So user profile. So we did some work on permissions before my trip. Well, I did a lot off stream as well to try and get things working. And ultimately, the view contains a table of user permissions, right? So I have a list of permissions and a list of user permissions, so I know which users subscribe to which thing. So what I was going to do is add in the concept of a user profile into the view. A user profile right now is just the user, and add on the permissions for that user. The concept being, here I'm Geek, hello. Did you work on it on the flight? I worked on permission. I think I worked on permissions off stream a couple of weeks ago. A lot of it off stream. So basically, you can go into here. Apparently not. Apparently that's still broken. Still suffering the Angular update problems. But ultimately, you go in here, you go to users, and now users has an ability to set permissions in the new version. In theory. Oh, we are full of these things today, aren't we? When the way this works, by the way, is when you are authenticated with a client, you are using Auth0 to sign in and get to be allowed to use the application. Auth0 is just authentication. Let's remove Angular and plain rich text only. My boss recently said he can't read anything I say in chat because it'll throw him off. I do this on work calls. Professionalism, man, professionalism. Um, when you make a request through the gateway asks is authenticated, and it will make a request to the identity component, which will pull back the permissions and create a new token. So the token that's provided back to the back end is not the token that the front end has. So you can't just give it the permissions and say, "Hey, I have these permissions." It will inject it, and there's a Redis server back there so that the requests aren't constantly hitting the database. Um, those permissions now come back through to the view when we change them. They're going to be managed and stored somewhere else, so I've got to figure that out. Gatekeeping your backend, I see. Absolutely. Family-friendly chat. So what I was doing initially is, rather than create an actual user profile, I'm going to put the permissions ability on the users. And yes, I am kind of diverting away from comments right this second because there's a lot more to fix there. I think that what I want to do is kind of store. We have a user's store, and when you load into a user, it can load those permissions out. So right now we can use a specific get user profile. I call this get user profile because it will get your profile. It doesn't have a user ID. I'm still figuring out whether I want to use filtering or sorting or whatever to get filtering to. Again, you can see this pattern. I've got get user by ID and get users. I use that all over the place, whereas I probably could get away with just using that. The benefit of doing it this way, by the way, is I'm getting one. Here I'm getting a collection. So if I use filtering, I still have an array that I then have to get at index 0 of. So here, get user profile is my user. Let's go figure out where I want to do that. Actually, I don't want to do that. I have it. Put shared, not that shared, the other shared. Services, permission service. I could put that in here. Oh, don't start me on that again. Oh, we might as well show this, Mojo. So Mojo and I the other day were playing with Markdown and Mermaid. So this does support Markdown, right? He says he can't find the requirement where he put Markdown in there. I thought I had one. Did you break it? I thought I had one. Did I delete it? Maybe I did. So you can add a requirement, new requirement for Markdown, Mermaid. You title. So we did put this in where you can tab in now, but if you go out, it'll tab out. Yes, Mojo diverted me for an hour and a half, almost 2 hours, just trying to get that working for no good reason. But you can use Markdown. Ah, donkey. So a list of items. Oh, yeah. So you can do Markdown in there. Yeah. Permission service. We're going to do permission service in here. Services, modules, planning, stores, services. That's how we do it. Read only. Actually, private read only, right? That's what it is. It's actually private read only. HTTP client. Yeah. public fetch profile. So I'm diverting to actually do what I was actually trying to do in the first place. So what I want to get is when I get the user permissions, and then creating an attribute, a directive that I can put on a control and say, you must have this permission to see it. So let's do planning items. This is actually, I don't want HTTP. That's the fun part. I want GraphQL. I don't want HTTP. I want Apollo. This is a user profile. I don't need HTTP. That's just funny. Private, read-only private Apollo. I believe I still need the base URL, but we'll see. So let's go to where we do a query. Actually, we have a user store somewhere in shared. Stores, features, services, users. Fetch all, fetch one. We're essentially fetch one, but we are not going to specify the ID. Actually, let's test this work. Application. Copy value. Okay, so get user. So let's get user by ID. We want new document, get profile. We might change this out to be an actual profile later on, rather than just a user. But for right now, user is pretty much the same thing. It's just, I want this. So get profile. How do we do this? We don't need identifier. Query, user profile. It's that, isn't it? User profile. Yeah. And then when we run that, the current user is not authorized to access. Really? Oh, that's a good point. I have to send this via the gateway. I have to send this via the gateway with the token, otherwise it won't attach the actual behavior now. So I'm suffering from, I'm this side of the gateway. I'm trying to access this GraphQL API without the gateway, and that's tripping me up because, yeah, that's the way it is. Come on, headers 7285. So I need to change this to be 7285. And now that should run. There we go. Yeah. So now my request is going via my gateway. So to get to the GraphQL API, I need to be authenticated properly. I need to have the gateway up and running. But this gives me my permissions, so I can use this query. Right. So I can copy this, go to my permissions service, paste that in there. Let's remove that. Use a single response. That's fine. And then we can take our query, paste that in there. And that gets me my user profile available to me. Um, ah, okay. What are you whining about now? Find name identifier, permission service, line 46, 47. Oh, I don't need, because I don't need that. There you go. That's fine. Yeah, so I don't need any of that, right? Essentially, I just need my permission. Even that I can get away from. So I don't need any of that weight to get my profile. What I'm trying to consider right this second is, where do I put this? I can inject my permission service, but it seems like, how do I cache this, basically? Where do I cache this? I suppose. I think that could be user profile. Yeah, that's the alias. So that is there. I'm just aliasing user to user profile. I could do that and do that. But then that user single response doesn't match that. So that's why that's forget it. We'll do it that way for right this second. It's not a big deal. It's just how it maps it, that's all. Popping back in, I have no real context. Cookies. I put my AirPod back in and heard, where do I cache this? Yeah, I'm trying to think about. So I have the ability to fetch the profile added, but now what's the right pattern for, or what's the right design to be able to use that? So what I want to do is, here's what I want to do. I want to go to features, planning, components, planning dashboard, planning expansion panel here. Requirements, actually. What my permissions look like. Create users, create ticket. Yeah, my permissions have no sense right now. That make no sense. But what I want to be able to do is say, okay, well, actually, even that, identify a name. If I can filter them, well, they're all permitted for me. They're added for me. What I want to be able to do is go to add edit requirement dialog here, and then have something that's like requires delete users or something like that as an attribute, or even here. And then that permission not being present will hide that panel. So let's have a look at how do you custom attribute. Custom directives, actually. Let's have a look. Let's ask. I'm when I do searches and stuff, I tend to do them off the screen recently because it just saves back and forward with flipping screens over, and you don't need to see me searching. If something's relevant, I will share it. Um, how would I create a custom attribute directive in Angular? So, um, let's have a look. So what we do, features, app, shared. That's not that shared. This is in the app shared, yeah. Directives. So it's giving me the code stub, so we're just going to use that for right the second. So that this is going to be directive, and this is going to be requires. Yeah, let's take requires as our directive. Tests might actually be worth using. So we're going to call that requires as a selector. And in here, we're going to do private read only. Missions service. And see, I think that's too heavy. I think that's not what I want to do. I think I want to create a user profile and inject the user profile, but I don't know quite how to do that right this second. Private template ref, template ref, any private view container, view container. It's very particular about them recently. Okay, so those things, and then input set requires permission string. It knows what I'm after. I don't want to fix with AI. Oh, that's simple. Okay. Now, the problem I have there is it's going to be asynchronous. I'm going to have some weird behavior, I think, with doing it this way. But let's test it. Profile. That one's not undefined. Some permission and is permitted. If has permission, we create it, otherwise we clear it. Okay. So that gives us our requires directive. Requires delete users. Is that because that is that? Yeah, it knows it needs a string. I got the profile. We can click the button. Let's change that to delete chickens. We've talked a lot about chickens today. And there it's gone. But did that cost us is my question. Did we have to make a second query? Yes, we did. So that's not ideal, but it does work. So what I need to do is figure out how to cache this, right? Well, actually, we've got it built in. So we can save ourselves that pain, I suppose. That pause, though, is going to kill me. I ideally want to fetch this on first load, right? So that there's no cost. But I should be able to do delete, what do I call it? Delete users. There's our button back. So now we do have the concept, which is really what I wanted to get to today. So we can just provide the permission necessary and it will hide the component for us. We could provide kind of a hide version and a one that adds some additional classes, I suppose. So you could gray it out rather than hide it. But I think hiding it for now is what's necessary. So we set the permission when we log in. Ultimately, what I'll probably do is part of signing in, make that request, populate an in-memory store, and then check the in-memory store first rather than even go into GraphQL. Although that should be quicker, right? If we do, if we modify, let's say here, and we do star requires equals update attachments, import that. Why is that still there? Oh, because the tab is not that. The tab is here. Hey, Radio Patrick. It's going well. Yourself? Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. That one shows. But we shouldn't be going getting profile every time. We definitely have some performance issues though. That's interesting. So there's a definite challenge to that one. But yeah. How's things, Patrick? Job going well? It's been a few weeks since we last chatted. Oh, I apologize. Okay. You should be free of ads. Hope you're well. Been a few weeks since we chatted. Okay. Um, okay, so it's not ideal. It looks like our requires directive needs a little bit of work. There's probably some extra pieces in here that need to happen because it applied it to the first one, but then didn't apply it further. I don't know if I saw it hide the requirements button on every panel. Let's go back there and change that again. Planning item, requirements. Did we add it there? Yeah, we did. Delete chickens. Right. Chickens. Getting looks from the dogs like chickens. Yeah, you see, it's not hiding it from everything. Um, that's an interesting side effect. It's hidden. Okay, it's hidden. Okay, so if I had the permission previously, oh, because that markup's rendered. That markdown's rendered. Sorry, markup is rendered beforehand. So now that will work properly. Okay, so that's going to function. It's just because I'd expanded them, and it was doing the HMR thing where it was reloading the component that I changed, and not for everything. That happened to be open. So there we go. Yeah, that's fine. So we have a requires attribute. We just need to figure out how to make that a little bit more effective. The first one's going to be a GraphQL query, right? So that's that's not exactly ideal. No, banana cake pop, go away. So the app is getting there. We've added the comments in. We've got that functioning. Thank you very much for all the assistance there today. That was greatly appreciated. The permissions we start to get there. A user profile and stuff. I don't know. Maybe I create that. I clearly need to do some work on the settings panel. Something's not quite working there. Tab menu is deprecated as a V18. Yes. So that's probably why. Angular in this version is loading all the components when I ask for them, so that's possibly why the jankiness. I'll have to test the compiled version. But yeah, we start to get a little bit more functionality there. We're almost back to where we were before. This meetings tab, by the way, the idea here is that what I'm going to look into is integrations. So if you want to meet on a planning item, you can schedule it from here, and that would allow you to track the fact that a meeting was scheduled, so people could see, oh, there's a meeting scheduled for this, or there was a meeting for this. Comments, I still think that might be discussions rather than comments. I think it's probably more what I want to promote in terms of the way that these things should be discussed. So requirements should not be just written down and worked from, right? That's the intention of this application. The intention is to gather requirements, to get the information for developers to be able to ask questions, dig into, and build tasks themselves. As we start to add the tasks, I'm going to show the tasks over here. I don't want this to be like, whoa, full page, right? The intent is to show the tasks to the right of these so that when you add a new task, it is visible and you can actually see the task and gather information. I think it's going to push the limits of this style a little bit in terms of like this expansion. This is PrimeNG plus Tailwind plus Flex CSS of Prime Flex right this second. These are PrimeNG components with one of their themes applied. And I'm using Tailwind for layout, etc. For the most part. PrimeNG, full free set of tools. I like this layout overall. I think it's much smoother than the original, right? This is a lot more dull as far as the layout goes. I didn't use a lot of color. I basically stuck to 3 tones, I think. There's some benefits to this style, and this is more Jira style, right? The right-hand side panel. This means you have to move over there to get context, but you are able to see a lot of information. My worry with this is you are going to lose track of where you are in the grid because it's expanded. Yeah, the font's the same, isn't it? Yeah. But we'll see. But the idea again is to try and get to the next step of development, get these pieces in there, get them working, and then update that site with this version so that people can sign in and play. Again, right now, if you are a subscriber to the stream, you are more than welcome to try and play with the app if you want to. It is active. You can sign up. There is a channel in Discord if you have your Twitch sub linked to your Discord account. You'll see a channel in my Discord for testing of this, and you're more than welcome to join in and play with the current version if you're interested. Subscribers only for now because again, I want to reward those people that have supported me and continue to support me. But we'll get there with this version. So that is me for today. I've gone over by quite a bit. I will be back tomorrow with more of this. I'm going to continue trying to get the profile tidied up a little bit. I want that concept maybe a little cleaner. When you log in or something, I'll figure out that, move some of those pieces around. We got the comments in. Yeah, I think we're moving along. So thank you, Patrick, for coming in. I know it's the start of your day. I appreciate it. I hope things are all well for you. Hasn't been here today, but I do want to shout out one more line. If you like .NET development, One a fantastic developer, a big supporter of my stream, a big supporter of me, and no worries. I get it. I appreciate it. By the way, still deserve a shout out. Lion is a .NET developer who streams Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and has really helped me the last couple of months with this, with the stream in general, being able to do shout outs and stuff. I'm not very good at those things because I get focused on what I'm doing. Mondays and Fridays on the stream right now, I will be doing a project called developers.stream, which is aimed at trying to help me with that and I'll also help others and support other streamers who develop. So check back on Mondays and Fridays. Here, you're also very welcome to join the Discord if you are in. If you like, hit the cards below. Okay, we're gonna go raid Mr. Box. Fullbots is building a game, a puzzle game. Yeah, he's getting ready for release. It is a very fun little game. Not a little game, it's a good puzzle game that I can highly recommend. So let's go raid Fullbots, and I will be back tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you again soon. Bye all.